Luka and the Lakers trying to get back-to-back victories after snapping a 4-game skid. They're hosting San Antonio. Doncic off the rip will stop, and that's 3. Lakers leading by 7. Austin Reeves in the paint gets that bucket to fall, and it's a 10-point first half lead. Jackson Hayes fakes to Doncic, and that is a high flyer as the Lakers building a comfortable lead of 14. Then it's Reeves. The handles, creates the space for the clean look. LeBron on the bench for the moment as he heals from that groin injury. Doncic, Hayes, connection forming. He loves a big guy he can throw alley-oops to. Reeves with a triple. He had 30, 6 assists, 7 rebounds. Doncic with 21, 14, and 9.
Rebounding yesterday against the Phoenix Suns. This was their first win without LeBron since he injured his groin just over a week ago. During that span, LA has dropped from 2nd to 5th in the West. But Big Perk isn't worried about the Lakers' recent stretch and showed his support on NBA Countdown.
Do I believe in the Memphis Grizzlies? I don't. Do I believe in the Denver Nuggets, and especially after they just took an L to the Washington Wizards last night? Hell no. I believe in the Los Angeles Lakers to be the second best team in the Western Conference. I think when you add LeBron James, who not only is in the MVP conversation, is in the best player in the world conversation, back to the mix, he does so much. Luka has unlocked a different version of LeBron.
All right, Big Perk live and in the flesh right now with SA out on the West Coast. Hey, hey. Shay, I want to come to you on this. So do you think the Lakers are the second best team in the West?
Yes, but I'm not discounting the Nuggets because I saw them. I think the thing is, Perk, what's surprising about me is the inconsistency in which Jamal Murray has played this season. Because we know when he plays well, they're almost unbeatable. Because Yo's going to give you a triple-double on a nightly basis. He's going to give you somewhere around 30, 15, and 12. That's what he gives you. But when Murray is cooking, now they're almost unbeatable. Now, do I believe in the Lakers? Absolutely. But what concerns me, Perk, is that what I've seen from LeBron is that when he gets these injuries late in the season, he's not the same LeBron as before he left. Excuse me?
What? So,
yeah, I mean,
wait a minute now. I don't know about you, Perk. That sounds like somebody has never been. What happened to OKC, UFC, KFC,
yeah.
Lakers of 5? What happened to that? So now we got to sound like something.
I said that before he got hurt, Stephen A. Now, you remember you remember when he first got there and he hurt that groin? He didn't come back at all. Now, he said it's not that. He didn't hear that pop. Remember when Solomon Hill rolled into his ankle and he tried to come back? How did he look, Stephen A.? Before he got injured, was he not in the MVP conversation? When he came back, did he look the same? Now you're talking about a guy that's 2, 3, 4 years older than what he was then. Had he not gotten hurt, I don't care. And I was very impressed with what I saw from OKC last night. I was like, and I'm watching this game, Perk, intently, and I'm like, Milwaukee, are y'all trying, or are they that much better than you guys?
They're
I come to the realization they're just that much better than Milwaukee. But with that being said, after I watched the Lakers do what they did to the Phoenix Suns last night, with our own goal,
he said the Phoenix Suns. He said the Phoenix Suns. Did he just say the Phoenix Suns? He said the Phoenix Suns. Did he say? As if that is a team we're supposed to take seriously?
Hold on,
really?
Perk. That's not what he was saying at the beginning of the year, was it, Perk? He was talking about the Phoenix Suns. When you got KD, that was a bona fide score, Perk. Perk, listen to me now. And they got Devin Booker. And they got Bradley Beal.
In the end of the regular season, not a lot of time. And I'm going to ask you if there's enough time for a couple things to happen. And I'm going to start here. You know, LeBron is rehabbing, possibly back this week. Luka and LeBron haven't played that much. When they did play, it looked like it instantly clicked. But I've seen this a lot where you get a new piece, it clicks for 5, 6, 7 games, 8, maybe 10 games, but then teams start to figure out a weakness, and then do you really know your identity? Is there enough time, in your opinion, for the Lakers to fully forge not just their identity, but all of the things they're going to need to do to make a deep playoff run? Is there enough time remaining for the Lakers to figure that out?
I do, but I do think there's enough time, because I think ultimately what you have to believe in is they're going to win their first round series, because that will be an additional probably 5, 6, maybe 7 games. That's more time working through it, assuming you think they're going to win that regardless of who they play. And I think a lot of people would believe in that. That gives you more time. Because here's the thing. What they're going to revert back to is their defense was so good during that stretch, and it started before the trade. Was so good during that stretch, and it was ugly when they first started playing with Luka. They have learned better how to protect him defensively. That is really what turned their season around. And then you started to see, even though Luka is finally starting to shoot the ball better, he shot the ball horribly for that whole stretch when he first got there. He's starting to string together shots now, and you're starting to see how dynamic this is going to be with him and LeBron. And then, oh, by the way, your third guy is Austin Reeves. One of those guys is getting a blow. How good has Austin Reeves been during this stretch while they're figuring all this stuff out? You got 3 elite playmakers. And so I think that end is going to be so difficult for teams to deal with. The defense is what we were worried about. We've already seen it. So now it just comes down to get back in time to give them enough rhythm. Now, whether that's a few games, handful of games going into the playoffs, plus an additional 5, 6, whatever it ends up being in that first round, that to me, Adam, is enough time. Now, what's interesting is, do you think it matters at all to the Lakers? Like, I think for a lot of teams, man, just avoid OKC as long as you can. Do you think that matters at all to a team like the Lakers? Like, it's the Lakers. If you think they're good enough, then you think they're good enough to do it all. And it doesn't matter when they play OKC. So for me, I was thinking the shame for them is they had a shot at 2, where now you're hosting 2 rounds and avoid OKC. Best case scenario. Well, that's now out the window, I think. I think now you're looking at potentially, I don't think Golden State's catching them, or Minnesota. I don't think they're going to fall as low as 6. So let's say 5. You go on the road and play Memphis, Denver, or Houston. I mean, I think the Lakers are going to be confident in those series.
Yeah, I think so too. The OKC piece of this is interesting, because as I try to think about who's the best matchup for Oklahoma City, I think their weakness is wings that can score and draw fouls. And Lakers have 2 of them, 2 really, really big wings, because they have these great guards, and they even have strong, stocky guards, but they don't have guys that are 6'8", that you can throw at Luka and LeBron. So to me, not only they're not scared. If I'm OKC, I might look at that and just hope that the Lakers fall to the 2-3 or somewhere, somewhere there. The next one I have for you, Porzingis comes back after a very bizarre illness. You don't see guys miss tons of time to illness like this, but he did. And he had 24 points in his return against the Brooklyn Nets. Crazy stat for you. The starting 5 for the Celtics this year have only played 307 minutes. And they have a negative net rating, negative 1.7. So is there enough time? I mean, we all are just penciling in the Celtics because we saw them last year, but is there enough time for their starting 5 and for Porzingis in particular to work his way back and to be ready for the playoffs?
Yeah, and it's I think one of the more understated stories of the league is that they really haven't had a much full health this year. And as a result, they're 7.5 games back in the Eastern Conference, when most people thought going in it was very easy to say the Boston Celtics is the best team, not only in the East, in the league, and you're expecting them to have the number 1 seed, and it hasn't played out that way at all. Now listen, the Cavaliers have been incredible, but Boston hasn't really been at full strength. So yes, there is enough time. And I also think they quietly know this in their mind. You haven't seen their best punch this year, and that's coming now that he's back. Now, look, I say that, but at the same time, you're right. Crazy illness. We want health for all these guys. It was weird to the point he had to address it on social media, because he said he was getting reached out to by so many people on social media, like wondering, man, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Because there wasn't a lot of information. All they said was non-COVID. Well, then what could it be? He finally addressed it. It was a viral thing that possibly turned into mononucleosis. They're not exactly sure, it sounds like now. But he said he was so weak. Every time he worked out, he was exhausted for an entire day. It was started to become concerning to him. Well, yes, he's back. But my point is he going to stay back? Is it going to be something else with Kristaps Porzingis? Because he's had this stuff throughout his career, it feels like. even last year in the finals, rolls his ankle and misses time. So it's great to get them back. We need to see them at full strength for here an extended period of time here going into the playoffs to remind everybody what that looks like when they have everybody, because they haven't had that very often.
Is there enough time, Legs, for Denver to figure out their defense? They are 22nd in defensive rating. They had the big win over the Thunder last Monday, blown out by the Wolves, gave up 1 million points, almost lost to the Lakers, who were resting everybody other than Austin Reeves, gave up a ton of points, and then lost to the Washington Wizards and gave up a ton of points. Is there time to fix their defense in the last 14 games?
Adam.
Oh, no.
I hate to tell you this, man. I had some of those DNVR shirts you gave me to wear.
Those were gifts.
To wear on. Yeah, just nice gifts when I came out there to see you in Denver, and you gave me some parting gifts. I felt like I was on a game show. You guys handed me stuff as I was leaving. And I love those shirts. They're great quality shirts. They fit great, comfortable. I brought some on the road trip I'm on right now to wear on these shows, and I pulled it out of the bag today, looked at it, and put it back in the bag and put this on because these last 3 games have been disturbing. Okay? They were eaten alive by the Timberwolves defense. Just mauled.
Murdered.
And it reminded me a lot of what happened in the playoffs last year. I was like, oh my goodness. Then I'm like, okay, you have a chance now against the Lakers. Like, right this wrong. They only have Austin Reeves, okay, as their best player. They don't have the other 2 guys. Deal with it. They almost lose that game. Give up a ton of points. And then the cherry on top. Brother, you can't lose to the Wizards at home at this time of the year. You can't lose to them at this time of the year at home. When you had those 2 games and you want to sell us that you're in the fight and you potentially are going to be the biggest challenger to Oklahoma City in the West. And look, and not that it would matter if you pounded the Wizards. A lot of people aren't going to care. But you have to, as part of a larger statement, you can't give up 126 points at home to the Wizards. I don't care how you lost the game on that, that miracle 3 by Poole. It doesn't matter. So these 3 games are would you agree? Is this the 3 most disturbing games in a row all year for the Nuggets?
In a row, yeah. But sadly, the Nuggets just have a lot of disturbing losses, sprinkled in throughout the year. But this is certainly at this point in the season and the degree to which, well, first of all, you counted it as a loss. They actually beat the Lakers, but it sure felt like a loss.
I didn't mean to say loss, but the fact
I know, but you're right. It felt like a loss because of how narrowly they pulled that one out. So
listen, I don't know. It's good. Look, I'm not. I think Charles Barkley, my friend Charles Barkley, the other night on the air raised a great question when he said, "Who's the second best team in the West?" He asked the other guys on the set that. I think it's a great question because I think we're all trying to figure it out. Because it looked like at one point I would have absolutely said Denver. At one point, it got to the point, it's like, man, maybe it is going to be the Lakers after all. The way they were playing before LeBron got hurt. I never really have said that about Houston or Memphis. I haven't said it yet about Golden State, but I mean, how can you deny them to be part of this argument? And now you've got Minnesota with 8 straight and one of the easiest schedules you're ever going to see to close the season. There's no telling when you look at the final, what do they have left? Minnesota's got 13 games left. They've already won 8 in a row. So when you look at this final 21 games for Minnesota, man, they might be 17-4, 18-3 going into the playoffs. And who knows at that point, my goodness, at that point, they might be as high as hell. They might be in the 4-5 hunt. You might be looking at that team with their defense and Anthony Edwards as being the answer. So right now, I think it's all up in the air, but I think these last 3 games have made it a much more difficult sell if you're talking about the Denver Nuggets.
100%. I have no faith in them. But just so people know, because I always hear on this show, like, oh, Adam's a homer. I predicted them in the preseason to be the 5 seed this year. I was very low on them coming in. After the preseason, I elevated that all the way up to 3rd. But at no point was I saying this was a team that I thought was like the 23 or the 24 team. I thought they were meaningfully different, and we're kind of seeing it played out, sadly. Last one I have for you, is there enough time for both the Timberwolves and the Warriors to rise above the play-in? They're the 2 hottest teams in the NBA. The Timberwolves have now won 8 in a row. The Warriors have won 7 in a row. Those are your 2 longest active win streaks. The Wolves are 4 games behind the Lakers, Grizzlies, Nuggets, and Rockets. So there's 4 teams for them to catch. Is there enough time for them both to get into outside of the play-in?
Man. So I just raved about Minnesota, how they're playing, and also their schedule. But at the same time, 4 games to make up in the loss column on one of those teams for them. That's a lot, man, in a short period of time. Now they've only got 13 games left. Like Lakers have 16, right? Because they were affected by the fires.
Right.
So their schedule looks different. They've got 6. They got more games. So to me, a lot of that could come down to how long is LeBron out?
Yeah.
You know, that's a big part of this, I think, for the Lakers. How long are they out? Unless you feel like, hey, man, Denver could potentially be in like some sort of a free fall situation here. But 4 games is an awful lot in this period of time with teams that are still good teams that are trying to win every night. So I'm going to say no to that. One of them, yeah. So really, to me, it's between the 2 of them. Minnesota, Golden State, one of those 2 teams gets above that line. One falls below. I don't know that they both make it above the line because you're going to have to run down a team that you're 4 games behind in the loss column if you're Minnesota.
I think it's doable. And while I'm with you that I think the smart money is against it, Golden State plays Denver tonight. They play them 2 times, actually, over these last couple weeks. They also play Memphis, Houston, and the Lakers. They have 7 games remaining. So half their games are against teams with winning records, half of them against teams with losing records. So I'm going to pencil them in. I think the Warriors are in. The real question is Minnesota, who has 4 games to make up. They also play Denver again. We know how they've looked against Denver for the last 2 years. And they play Memphis, and they only play 6 teams with a winning record, 7 teams with a losing record. I think Minnesota is going to close this season on a heater. And I think one of Denver, Memphis, really Denver, Memphis, LA, because I think Houston's schedule and they're playing a little bit well. They got Fred VanVleet back. I think they're going to be safe. But Denver, Memphis, and LA, I would not be surprised if we're talking about all 3 of those teams free falling, and you only have to catch one of them. I think the Timberwolves have a better shot than most of catching up.
Interesting. Listen, if you're going to catch a heater as a team, now's the time. And they've done it. And Golden State too.
They look great.
It's been going on longer for Golden State, but like for Minnesota, man, that they're and it's not just, oh, well, they're winning games now, we're going to talk about them in a positive light. It's not that. It's you're watching their defense, and it resembles very much their defense last year, and it hasn't really, and it does now. And on top of it, they're finding this joy together because it didn't look necessarily all that fun at times. They're finding that too. DiVincenzo's back. That's been a big part of this. I know people might look at him as a role player. That guy is tough as nails. He's energy. He's supplemental 3-point